On the 5th of February 1958, a brilliant young Manchester United side completed a 5-4 aggregate victory over Crvena Zvezda in the European Cup quarter-final. That night, they enjoyed a celebratory banquet with the Zvezda players at the Majestic Hotel. The next day, slightly worse for wear, they boarded their flight home, landing in Munich to refuel. Twice, attempts to depart were aborted. The third time, the plane kept going, was unable to gain sufficient speed to take off on a runway that was covered in slush and ploughed on through a perimeter fence into a hut in which a fuel truck was parked. It then caught fire and exploded. In total, 23 people were killed, including 8 players: Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, and Billy Whelan. A sense of grief was felt not just in Manchester or Britain, but around the world. The disaster was heartbreaking, but the comeback was inspirational. Matt Busby, United's manager, who'd taken them into European competition against the wishes of the Football League, was so badly injured that the last rites were administered twice in a Munich hospital. But he survived and began the agonising process of creating a new side based around 3 Munich survivors: the goalkeeper Harry Gregg, who had pulled people clear of the wreckage despite sustaining a fractured skull, the defender Bill Foulkes, and the attacking midfielder Bobby Charlton. It took time, but United won the FA Cup in 1963, and as another generation of gifted youngsters emerged, they won the league in 1964-65. That gave Busby another go at the European Cup, which for him had become a guiding ambition. That 1965-66 campaign brought the game that announced the 19-year-old George Best to the world, as he took apart Benfica in a 5-1 away win in the quarter-final. But United lost to Partizan in the semi. That meant that to get into the European Cup again, United had to win the league again in 1966-67, which they did. But that was also the year in which Celtic became the first British club to win the competition. Busby, pipped by Jock Stein, who'd actually been born just 3 miles to the southwest of him. And Bill Shankly, who was achieving great success with Liverpool at the same time, was from about 20 miles further south. This was the great era of the managers from the Lanarkshire-Ayrshire coalfield. All but one of Celtic's team was born within 11 miles of their Parkhead home, and that odd man out, Bobby Lennox, was only from 30 miles away in Saltcoats. Under Stein, they played a rapid attacking 4-2-4, proof that system football didn't have to be defensive. Their victory over the Catenaccio of Helenio Herrera's Inter in the final, both goals the result of forward surges from their fullbacks, was regarded by many as a victory for playing football the right way. "John," as Shankly said to Stein after the final whistle, "you're immortal now." And Stein was 13 years younger than Busby, his ideas far more modern. Busby had been a revolutionary when he'd taken over United at the end of the war, but by 1968, his faith in individual brilliance seemed outmoded. There was a sense that time had caught up with him, that this was the last chance of European glory for his United. And it was a quest that captured the public imagination. In the semi-final, they faced Real Madrid again. They won the home leg 1-0, but with 17 minutes remaining in the Bernabeu, they trailed 3-1. Then David Sadler levelled the aggregate scores, and Foulkes, of all people, the Munich survivor, got an improbable winner. That set up a final at Wembley against Benfica. Bobby Charlton gave United the lead, Benjamin Grasse levelled with 11 minutes remaining. In extra time though, United came again. Best put them ahead, and Brian Kidd, on his 19th birthday, added a third. And Charlton rounded off a 4-1 victory, perhaps the most emotional in the competition's history. It couldn't bring back those who'd been lost at Munich, but it seemed at least a fitting tribute to their memory. Charlton was too overwhelmed to attend the post-match banquet. Best, frustrated by what he considered an underwhelming performance, left and, by his own account, got properly drunk for the first time in his life. He was 21, but never won another trophy. Busby mounted a table and sang "What a Wonderful World," but within a year, shattered, he had retired. "We were," said John Aston, the 20-year-old left-winger who was named man of the match, "like the last man to win Wimbledon with a wooden racket." Their great mission achieved, United fell apart and unthinkably were relegated in 1974. But they played their part in shifting the epicenter of European club football from the Latin South to the industrial North. But more than that, by rebuilding the club after tragedy and winning the European Cup 10 years after Munich, Busby and Charlton, Foulkes and Gregg had written one of the greatest and most emotional stories in the history of the sport. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including David Ornstein, Daniel Taylor, Ollie Kay, Amy Lawrence and James Horncastle. With the latest transfer news and insight on every Premier League football story that matters, theathletic.com puts you inside football.